Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo, and this is 3 Buck Theater. Now, this is kind of something I've wanted to try for a while, so this is going to be a tester, just getting that out of there. With Beauty and the Beast opening up in a couple days, it's one that I think has been covered more for controversy than for content, especially involving the entire Le Fou gay scene. That even though Disney had offered to cut the scene out of the movie in Malaysia, they still didn't want to screen it, so Disney pulled it entirely, and Russia gave it a 16 plus rating because of one 30-second scene. This is a world we live in. But anyway, Rotten Tomatoes. Those of you who know me from the Mundane Matt channel know that I'm no Rotten Tomatoes fans. I do not look at this website as the be-all, end-all, which a lot of people do. A lot of people do, especially following the Ghostbusters fiasco from over the summer. I have a serious level of contempt for this particular website. And I think and I will be the first to admit, that's not fair. Because people using Rotten Tomatoes as the quintessential defining force behind whether or not a movie has quality is on those people, not on the company. Which leads me to this video. What I thought would be fun would be to look at the top positive fresh ratings for the movie and the negative ratings for the movie to determine to an extent whether or not it's worthy of its tomato meter. Now, again, this just gives you an idea of how very odd the aggregate is for Rotten Tomatoes. So right now, Beauty and the Beast just has critical ratings. Doesn't have audience ratings. It's not out just yet. But it's sitting at 67%, a 6.5 out of 10, which if you were to rate that on the American grading scale, that would be like a D. Like a D, which is, it's passing. Sure, but it's like 1 point behind and it goes into a fucking F. But here, it's 67% and it's considered fresh. Right? But then you look over here and you got Belko Experiment, 62% considered fresh. So, okay, fine. I honestly feel like they've been changing that metric there because of that. So, anyway, Beauty and the Beast, scroll down here a little bit, and it says, Disney's Beauty and the Beast is a live-action retelling of the studio animated classic, which refashions the classic characters from the tale as old as time for a contemporary audience. Staying true to the original music while updating the score and several new songs, Beauty and the Beast is the fantastic journey of Belle, a bright, beautiful, and independent young woman who is taken prisoner by a beast in his castle. Despite her fears, she befriends the castle's enchanted staff and learns to look beyond the beast's hideous exterior to realize the kind heart and soul of the true prince within. And then it goes on to talk about who stars in the movie and all that jazz. So it's a good synopsis. I mean, but it's the same thing. Look, in 1991, I think, is when Beauty and the Beast came out, or 93 or something like that, right? Like, this is just a remake of that movie. It's literally not a shot-for-shot remake, but it's a remake. It was some horrible CG, like just horrible CG. But let's take a look here. Let's start with the positive, because I think that's always a good place to start. All right, so Beauty and the Beast critical reviews. So we're just going to go to the top critics here, because that, again, is what a lot of people will look at, the top critics on Rotten Tomatoes. So Maura McDonald here says, my skepticism about the necessity of Disney's live-action remake of its beloved 1991 animated musical lasted, about 90 seconds. Okay, so that's a good summary. Is she went in skeptic, she came out, 90 seconds later, into the movie. Let's see. The Fort Worth Star and Telegram says, the attention to detail in this film is exquisite, from the gold flakes on Belle's ballroom gown to the Fantasia-like theatrics of the Be Our Guest feast. All of the acting heavy hitters truly bring those inanimate objects to life. Okay, so the aesthetics of the film, the visuals of the film looks good. And I will say, outside of the Beast's CG, because that does look really bad, they did look pretty decent. All right, Rafer Guzman from Newsday says, anyway. In the end, Beauty and the Beast still enchants largely due to the irresistible story and Wolverton's still intact touches. The hand-drawn original film, though, remains the real deal. Of course, because you don't really need to remake it exactly point for point. One of the reasons why I felt that Cinderella did a good job is, yes, it was the same story with a few additions, a few changes. It wasn't meaning to be a shot for shot remake. This isn't Gus Van Sant's Psycho. But with Beauty and the Beast, I feel like Disney was like, okay, Cinderella did really well. Fuck. How do we change that? Like, how do we do it with this one? Because they're also doing that with Aladdin right now, by the way. And apparently Guy Ritchie is directing. So there's that. Okay, so Michael Phillips here, Chicago Tribune, says the problems here, I think, are weirdly simple. The movie takes our knowledge and interest in the material for granted. Okay, Richard Roper saying, Bill Condon's take on Beauty and the Beast is almost overwhelmingly lavish, beautifully staged, and performed with exquisite timing and grace by the outstanding cast. Okay, I don't want to go all the way through all of these top critics, so I figured the top 5 will do. So what we can glean from this is that if you are skeptical of seeing the film, the first 90 seconds, probably the opening song with Belle, right, will change your mind. It will make you feel like you've gone home. It will make you feel like you're back in 1991, 26 years ago, watching this for the first time as a kid, which I think is pretty much their intent. It will also, you'll be able to notice that there's a lot of good details on the dresses and the animation and everything else. Again, no one here is commenting on the Beast. Okay, so it still says that the movie enchants, even because the story is really good, right? But the animated movie's a lot better. And then also, just from Richard Roper here saying that it's overwhelmingly lavish, beautifully staged, and performed with exquisite timing and grace by the outstanding cast. So essentially what that's telling me is they did a good job hitting the beats that had been previously established by the animated film from 20 plus years ago. Okay, makes sense. Now let's jump over here to the Rotten score, because I feel this is where we're going to get we're going to be bathed in cynicism, or we're going to see something, get maybe a bit more of a counterbalance to what the praise was. So Jude Dry from IndieWire says, a quarter century has passed since we saw Disney's Belle fall for the Beast. Today, the message that behind every rough man is a charming prince is regressive, if not lethal. Ooh, identity politics already coming out. First one out the gate. Identity politics. Oh. What I love there, okay, and I'm just like, I feel like I have to defend this. But what Jude Dry is saying there essentially is that every rough man cannot have a Prince Charming behind him. Like the people who might be put in bad circumstances have no way of redeeming themselves to become better overall. That's essentially what Jude is saying, which cracks me the fuck up. All right, J.R. Kinnard says, while the CG extravagances are amazing and the human elements show promise, they never work together to create something noteworthy and original. And to be fair, I was watching some of the clips of this movie, and they were like, the Beast just didn't look right. Didn't look right at all. It was really kind of off-putting how the Beast looked. So I can understand that. And it felt off. And even though the music was there and the sound was there, that really took me out of the moment. And I am going to go see the movie this weekend, so I do want to know. I do want to see it because I really do like the original movie. I really, I think one of the best parodies of the original was from The Critic when they had Beauty and King Dork. And they did that whole little bit, that was great. Okay, David Crow from Den of Geek says, many will allow themselves to get swept away in Beauty and the Beast's tide of nostalgia. Just know there isn't much depth below this shiny surface. But to be fair, was there ever any great depth in the original? And this is my point. This is my point with this particular remake. Like with Cinderella, they gave her a bit more depth. We got to see more of what happened with her mom. We got to see more with her dad. We got more of her being her. Here, they basically took the original screenplay, dusted it off a little bit, brought in the director of the last 5 Harry Potter movies or 4 Harry Potter movies, and then went, bam, there you go, dude. Like, and they kind of just took the adaptation very straightforward. And the fact that Bill Condon, who did adapt the last 4 Harry Potter books into movies, or the last 3 Harry Potter books, but 4 movies overall, he should know that things change in adaptations. And maybe here Disney was like, don't you change shit. All right? Like, don't you fucking change anything. Okay, fucking Bellatrix, you make the fucking finale of that goddamn movie fucking fantastic. None of this Half-Blood Prince shit. Sorry, I'm still mad at that. The fucking Jesus Christ. Okay, quick tangent. I'm sorry. Bill Condon, I know it's not entirely your fault, man, but like Half-Blood Prince, after Snape kills Dumbledore, you took the emotional impact of finding out Snape was the Half-Blood Prince, and you fucking just shat on it in order to turn it into a goddamn setup for the fucking last two movies. That pissed me off because we never had that emotional conclusion to who the Half-Blood Prince was, nor did we have time for Harry to really kind of deal and grapple with the fact that it was Snape. They just shat over that entire fucking huge ass reveal in order to go, hey guys, the finale's coming in 2 years. It bothered me, and I just wanted to speak my piece on that one. All right, Jordan Raup says, there's an emotional detachment at its core that renders it an innocuously serviceable live-action remake. And, maybe that's true. Maybe that's because they tried to take a story that was shallow in good, but shallow in its original creation, and add these extra layers that didn't necessarily flow. When, like I said, I will keep using Cinderella as a core example. None of that Maleficent shit. Maleficent was a horrible fucking movie, but Cinderella was grand. I'm also a big Downton Abbey fan, so there's that. But with Cinderella, like they brought that emotional core to it, and they allowed it to breathe, and they allowed it to be explored, and they allowed us to feel for Cinderella. But with this one, I've heard identity politics brought up with Emma Watson saying things like, oh, Bella's not a damsel in distress, and there's not Stockholm Syndrome, and she's effeminate, that kind of nonsense that's going to come to this, that's going to convolute this tale. If it's a paint-by-numbers remake, and they're trying to add in these other layers of identity politics and all these other kind of buzzwords, and they're not taking the time to deviate from the source material to either explain them or to give it proper credence, then it's only going to falter. And that's what I feel basically happened here. Okay, and finally, Matt Goldberg with Collider saying, Bill Condon didn't have to stay savagely devoted to the 1991 film, but most of the alterations and changes don't make his version feel fresh. They feel like they're grasping for relevancy. And again, that goes back to my point of this entire situation, of everything involving the adaptation and identity politics and how they've tried playing with some of the core mechanics. And that might be one of the reasons why it's having trouble connecting with critics to the point of, let's say, something like, Kong Skull Island right there is 80%, Logan 92%, Get Out 99%, because some asshole had to fucking give that a bad rating. I think it was Armand White too, but I'll digress. But the reason why I wanted to kind of go through the Rotten Tomatoes is I feel looking at the top 5, fresh and rotten scores will give us an understanding of what to expect from the film. And also looking at the fact that it's a remake and kind of understanding what some of the stars have said, we can, and also some of the controversy surrounding the whole gay scene, we can kind of gauge how this movie is going to be. And it's going to just be mediocre. That's what I take from this. I take it's just going to be mediocre. It's not going to be any better than the 1991 original. It's not going to be any better than anything like that. And it might come across, because this is what it's kind of come across to me. It's kind of come across to me as just a blatant cash grab from Disney, again, just trying to make these live action remakes of their animated films. How about this, Disney? Instead of doing a live action remake of the fucking Lion King or a live action remake of fucking Aladdin, why don't you focus on 2D hand-drawn animation again? Why don't you focus on telling good stories that way? Christ, Zootopia and Moana are both fantastic in terms of storytelling. They're fantastic movies. They're great. I mean, Christ, Finding Dory was fantastic. I fucking teared up like crazy at that movie. Even if the story was a bit contrived and ultimately didn't need to happen, it was still good to go back to that world. But those kind of things can be fine. This kind of thing, not necessarily. So anyway, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you think that the Rotten Tomato scores are indicative of the quality of the film? Is this a series you would like to see more of? Because we know some of the stuff is going to be coming out. We're coming into the summer movie season, and this is something I think would be fun to kind of explore. So these are things I want to know. Go ahead and write them down in the comments. Again, my name is Matt Jarbo. This has been 3 Buck Theater. If you haven't already, please thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, and check back often for more content from me. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.